Okay. It's a little after 3. I'll call the Board of Directors meeting of Trinity Metro to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Ben, would you begin?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have any citizen cards?
No, sir.
Oh, yeah, really? It's always. We have no cards. I'll close this portion of the hearing and go into administration of oath. So I believe that all of us, maybe except Mike, he's already been sworn in. So everyone needs to take the oath of office that Joel will very slowly administer.
Is that right?
So,
Yeah, so only the city appointees? I think the county, correct me if I'm wrong, but the county members, we swore you in a few months ago?
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
The city just made their appointments
Okay.
this week.
All right. Y'all can't change your mind. You're stuck.
Is that the rest of us?
That's what we do. Yeah, re-swear.
Y'all need to be re-sworn. Other county people. Hello. County people.
Okay.
I'm going to try this again. I state your name, do solemnly affirm
Solemnly affirm.
Solemnly affirm.
that I will faithfully execute the duties
I will faithfully
Execute the duties
of the office of the Board of Directors
of the office of the Board of Directors
of the Fort Worth Transportation Authority,
of the Fort Worth Transportation Authority
doing business as Trinity Metro of the state of Texas,
of the state of Texas,
and will do so to the best of my ability,
and will do so to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the constitutions and the law
the constitutions and the law
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Duly sworn in.
Okay, thank you all. We're all official and can vote now. So, along with the oath and membership, I'd like to appoint a nominating committee to recommend officers for Trinity Metro. Teresa, if you'd be the chair of that.
Yes.
Isaac, Will, if you'd get with Teresa and form a group recommendation. That'd be great.
Perfect.
Perfect, thank you.
And meeting minutes. Have you all had an opportunity to look at last month's minutes?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second to approve the October 2025 board meeting minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We have some information items and reports. Rich, you going to start off?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, and members in the audience. Once a year, I'm in front of the board to update you on the status of Trinity Metro. I have to say that Trinity Metro has been hard at work over the last year, and some of the presentation will be repetitive to items that we've discussed in the past, but I do think once a year it's worthwhile to revisit all that has been happening here in terms of the goals that we set, how we perform relative to those goals, and then some of the other activities that we've been delivering on. Oh. Thank you, Jennifer. I'll start with a recap of our mission and vision and values at Trinity Metro. A couple years ago, we had a board retreat. And some of you will recall, those of you that were here, that we landed on this really simple but straightforward and memorable mission statement, which is connecting people to life. So the name of our business is, yes, we do move people on various services, but it really is about powering our economy, providing access to jobs, and other opportunity in Fort Worth and Tarrant County. Our vision, again, straightforward. We want to be the preferred choice for simple, safe, and innovative mobility services. You'll notice the word mobility there. Really, it's about, it doesn't matter what the vehicle is, it's what is the most effective and efficient way to deliver service to our community. And we always want to be innovative in our thinking. And then values. At that retreat, we landed on 6 core values: innovation, safety, reliability, sustainability, fairness, and integrity. And I'll just highlight that sustainability, we mean that in all senses of the word. And financial sustainability is very top of mind for this organization. Over the last year, we have been hard at work at sort of repositioning this organization for the next wave of growth. And that starts, we've always had a lot of talent here at Trinity Metro, people who are invested in public service, who are creative thinkers. But what we recognize is that there were some gaps, and what we've done over the last year is built what I think is one of the most capable leadership teams of any transit agency in the country. I'm quite proud of that. We've got folks here on this slide that are both sort of grew up here in the Fort Worth community, have a lot of years invested at Trinity Metro, and others that have come to us from places far away, including Jacksonville and St. Louis. So really proud of the talent that we've assembled here, and it's showing up and paying dividends already in the pace of activity here at the agency. What we're seeing is that projects are moving more quickly. We're making some headway on some really important major initiatives, including TexRail, World Cup, and Urban Rail. I was in front of City Council. Some of you may have been in the room at the time. A couple times a year, I have an opportunity to sit with the mayor and City Council and brief them on our progress. Councilman Nettles, you were there?
Yes, I was.
Yep. Earlier this year, I promised this agency would deliver on 5 commitments, and I'm pleased to say that we've met 4 of the commitments already. Mayor Parker's Urban Rail Committee report was released in May. A Trinity Metro Bikes was relaunched, and you'll see the results in a moment. We delivered on our Trinity Metro Blue Line, and our Trinity Metro Strategic Action Plan was completed. And we've made substantial progress on our TexRail to the Medical District Extension Project. More on that in a moment. But great strides in terms of the financial plan and progress on the pending agreements to implement that project. One of the measures of success here is we look at ridership. How is the public responding to the services we're providing? And I'm pleased to say that we hit a relative high watermark in our program, carrying more than 8 million people through the end of September. Yes?
Great.
Those gains are coming across the system. What's exciting about the growth in ridership is that it's occurring in many areas where we've invested. So when we upgrade the customer experience, we make schedules easier to use, we make the brand, update the brand, make it more fresh. What we see is the public responds. And so it's not hard to convince people to ride transit. It's just a matter of delivering great service, reliable service, clean and safe service. I'm going to zero in on a few of those services now, TexRail being one. TexRail continues to grow. This is the story that sells the mission. TexRail in fiscal 2025 ended the year at nearly a 12% gain in ridership year over year. Now, 12% is meteoric in terms of transit gains. You typically don't see this in the transit business. If you see 2 or 3% year-over-year gains, you're quite proud of that. TexRail is exceeding all expectations, and for a service now in its 7th or coming up on its 8th year, these ridership gains show no sign of slowing. In part, it's because we've expanded the frequency. Midday service now runs every 30 minutes, and with the Silver Line now operating to Plano, we expect to see additional riders using the system to connect at the airport. It's now a full year of Orange Line. Orange Line has rocked it. We have seen steady gains in Orange Line ridership. Even after more than a year of service, we are still seeing, and let me refer to my notes here, up 22.3%. A 22.3% gain in ridership. What you'll notice in those last 2 months of the chart, or last 2 weeks of the chart there, you'll notice that those gains look to be petering out. Well, in fact, those were gains year over year relative to the service last year, and the service at the end of that chart was also Orange Line. So after a year of service, we're still seeing continued gains in ridership. Blue Line ridership continues to do great things. We launched Blue Line in June. We went from operating every 15 minutes to every 7 minutes, and the service features a better onboard experience, upgraded seats, an onboard musical track that people can listen to while they're riding. And there again, our ridership has gone up 23.5%. Now, you'll notice in the last few weeks of that service, you'll notice there's been some leveling out, and we believe in part that's due to some challenges we've had with the equipment of late. We were operating this service with New Flyer electric buses. Those buses were subject to a manufacturer recall, and so I'd like to highlight that the team scrambled to put the old Mollies back into service with a refreshed look. So part of that may have been that there was a period of time where we were operating with conventional equipment. We'll keep our eye on this, but really pleased with the results so far. We also relaunched Trinity Metro Bikes. That program has really taken off. Very exciting. Yes, I know. The data is impressive. We're excited about this. There's a whole new app, a user experience. So in the past, you would have to go up and manually key or tap or swipe a credit card into a station. Now, with the touch of an app, you could see where all of the bikes are available throughout the city, and you simply need to go up to a station and scan the QR code, and the bike releases. So it's a little bit magical now. I find myself using the bikes to get around downtown to most of my meetings in downtown. It's a great way to go. The results of all of these investments are that our buses are more full, our trains are busier, and that people are using our services more frequently. But there's another positive result of this, which is perceptions of Trinity Metro are continuing to improve. We've always, in recent times, had a solid reputation, but these investments are showing what a modern, dynamic transit system can do for a city, a top 10 city. So bear with me. I'm going to go through this quickly, but
We like good news.
okay,
Keep going.
okay, all right. We have had quite the list. There's a number of slides here I just want to walk you through, and I'm quite proud of these things. So our team, and this is not a rich accomplishment. This is the result of the entire Trinity Metro team. We've balanced our budget while maintaining fares and current services. I can tell you, and I won't highlight other transit systems, but if you read news from around the country, this is not necessarily the case in other places. Quite proud of that. We've negotiated a new 4-year collective bargaining agreement, so congratulations to our workforce. We now have a stable outlook for our labor force for the next 4 years. We did that within our budget, and so we're proud we were able to negotiate that without any hiccups, and that new contract took effect in October. You already heard me say we served 8 million riders. That's the high point since 2017. And we had a very strong transition to the Trinity Metro On Demand program. You'll recall it used to be called Trinity Metro Zip Zone. The On Demand now, what I'd like to highlight here is it's not just about more riders, but it's about the effectiveness of the system. So we saw paratransit trips, for example. We had quite a number of paratransit trips that exceeded 90 minutes in length. And if you think about a 90-minute travel time to Fort Worth, that's virtually going from one side of the city to the other. And I can assure you these customers were not traveling those kinds of distances. So what we've been able to do is see an 85% reduction in trips of 90 minutes. That's a game changer for people who use this service. But how does that show up in the bottom line? Well, we've been able to reduce hours in the call center by 2,400 hours. Now, you all know that about a year's worth of time for one employee is about 2,200 hours of time. So we've been able to save an entire position's worth of time by improving the efficiency and reducing call volumes. And that's shown up in productivity. When you are able to deliver service more efficiently, you're able to use the same workforce and the same vehicles to provide more service. And that productivity has increased by 7% in the network. You heard me highlight that we've doubled the midday schedule on TexRail. I'd like to underscore that again, wasn't just about throwing more resources at a problem. Reed and his team thought, geez, we're not seeing a lot of overnight ridership. What if we took those resources, those crews and those dollars, and shifted those resources to the midday? That's just what we did, and we saw continued gains. Of course, you heard me say 11.8% gains in ridership on TexRail. And that, again, the result of being creative. It did a second thing, though. In addition to creating additional opportunity for people to travel, it freed up a maintenance window overnight so that the Herzog workforces could get out and maintain track and signal. So this was a win-win-win for us, and we're going to continue to look at options like this in the network. Again, not spend more necessarily, but how can we do more with the dollars that we have? This is about outreach. During the year, I, along with members of the leadership team, spent a lot of time on the road. We made 2 trips just across town here to City Hall to brief the mayor and city council. We made 4 trips to the state capitol in Austin during session to brief our delegation on priorities at Trinity Metro and performance. And we even made 3 trips to the U.S. Capitol to meet with the Texas delegation and committee staff. We testified in Austin on House Bill 3187, which did not pass, but that was a bill that would have removed funding from DART and in turn put our Trinity Railway Express service at risk. That service is a 50-50 joint venture with DART. And we've advocated for changes to federal law that pertain to the protective railroad liability. That's an insurance requirement that we're subject to, and we're simply asking the federal government to allow more time to place that insurance coverage. So no change necessarily in what they're requiring, just how much time we have to do that. We were busy internally. We met as a leadership team and with the board to review our mission, vision, values, and confirm the strategic direction for the agency. You heard me say we've hired top-tier talent on our leadership team. We've reorganized the leadership team for clear roles and improved accountability. We've hosted major events throughout the year. As a team, we've been in the bus garage, at the rail yards. We've been in places to greet our workforce and thank them. And that includes an 18-hour stint, which, yes, it's 18 hours straight, standing in line, grilling bacon and sausage and pancakes. We tell our team that we are available to them and that we make an extra effort. Many of you at this dais have come out and supported us in that, and I want to thank you for that. And that we've met with every single member of the Trinity Metro team. So we have somewhere, depending on the day, we have somewhere upwards of 675 employees, and we've met with every single one of them throughout the year. We do that quarterly, but I individually and the leadership team make an effort to do that at least twice a year to greet every employee and hear their feedback. No? Oh. Okay. At the beginning of the year, we won a $25 million bill grant to extend the TexRail project into the medical district. That grant was a game changer for us. We would not be in a position of about to break ground on TexRail without that funding. We launched our first Storytime train where 3,000 people showed up. An extraordinary, actually we had to close registration. It was so successful. We added dates, we added trains, and even then we still had to close registration. We negotiated an MOU with the Fort Worth ISD to give students access to transit. We'll be making there's a public signing event coming up very shortly. We posted our first ever economic development director position. to tackle transit-oriented development for this agency. And we've interviewed Grapevine business owners and developers to highlight the Trinity Metro effect. And I've spent at least 2 or 3 days in Grapevine walking Main Street and interviewing individuals about their experience. And that's been really effective, and you'll see more on that online in the coming months. My remote must have died. Okay, I'm going to highlight a few things that I've been doing, but keep in mind that this list is more exhaustive, but this is just sort of what I've been doing as your leader. I am serving as an executive committee member with the American Public Transportation Association. I'm the chair of the National Awards Committee, which gives awards to public transit authorities throughout the country. I'm the vice chair of the Commuter Rail CEOs Committee and a member of the CEO Council. So I'm investing a lot of our time. It's really, most importantly, to share the lessons learned here in Fort Worth and to raise the visibility of Fort Worth. And I can tell you, I think you all know this, Fort Worth does not always get its fair share or fair credit on the national stage. I'm a board member of the Commuter Rail Coalition, a board member of the National Transit Institute, a board member of the Transit Coalition of North Texas, board member of Downtown Fort Worth, Inc., Greater Real Estate Council of Fort Worth, John Roach Club, Near Southside board member, North Texas Lead board member, North Texas Commission board member. I attend the Thursday Morning Breakfast Association on the TRE Advisory Committee and TRE Management Committee and the TxDOT Transportation Master Plan Steering Committee. This is not about bragging. This is about showing you that we are invested in our community. We are invested in showing the rest of our region and country what we're doing here in Fort Worth and Tarrant County. Okay, I'm going to run through a few goals. Last year, I was in front of this board. There were 5 goals that we committed to, and I want to run through them for you. One was we heard feedback at our employee outreach 1.5 years ago that we needed to do a better job of engaging our workforce. So goal number 1 was to implement first-level supervision development program with metrics. I can tell you that thanks to the leadership of Kelly Shields and others, we've developed a robust training and development program where every individual in this organization that has an employee reporting to them will go through this training. I'm pleased to say 65% of the workforce has been through the program already. But another key point of feedback was around security and personal safety. People expressed concern that they didn't always feel safe when they're out on the bus route late at night or when they're at our garage. And so we have been listening to them and implementing a robust suite of changes to improve both actual safety and perceptions of safety on our system. And that includes a new safety training video that we developed in-house, enhanced perimeter fencing. If you've seen it, I laughed. It looks a little bit like the Jurassic Park fencing. But we've enhanced fencing around our facilities. We've done tree pruning to clear and improve visibility. And we've finally adopted a robust barrier door for the operators. So if you've seen our barrier doors currently, they're somewhat effective. They've got a plexiglass look to them. The new barrier doors are going to be truly heavy duty and give an extra measure of protection to our bus operators. Goal number 2 was ridership. We were a little eager and ambitious. We thought we would end the year at 8.4 million trips. That would have been a 7.2% increase in ridership. I think we just aimed a little high there, maybe a little too high. But I am pleased to say that despite not meeting the goal, we still grew, and we still exceeded expectations on all of those new services. So happy to report, even though there's a big red X up there. We promised to implement Blue Line, and we delivered on that. And that was about innovation. It wasn't just about a new bus route, but it was about thinking differently about our bus service. Goal number 4 was our transit campaign. I promised we would hire a new chief of strategy and publish a strategic plan. Annette Landeros, of course, is our new chief of strategy. And we have 5 goals that we've adopted with the board's input for our strategic direction over the next 5 years. And back to safety, we had a chronic challenge over at the Dr. Dennis Duncan's Transportation Center. there was a feeling, and actually data to back up, that it wasn't always a safe environment. So in fiscal '24, we had a total of 16 assaults. I'd like to point out that assaults are defined differently by the federal government. So where the local PD might say an assault is physical contact, the assault for transit is that if someone raises their voice and acts in a hostile manner, that actually counts as an assault. Yes, so believe it or not. So what we've done is we've been able to decrease that from 16 total incidents down to 10. And I'm also proud of the fact that we've had this close partnership with the Fort Worth Police Department, and we've gone from 0 dedicated hours of police coverage to nearly 900 hours of dedicated police coverage at that location. And the great news is, through the creativity of the police force, we've rotated assignments and kept folks guessing out there. So the result is that even when police aren't there, there's an increased perception that the police may show up. And so that's been a great, that's yielded the result that you see on the screen. Okay, now wrapping up with goals for 2026. I'll tell you, as a leadership team, we meet weekly. Our leadership team, these aren't Rich's goals, these are the team. We put our heads together collectively and said, what are the things that matter to this organization in terms of moving the agenda forward? And these are the 5 that we landed on. The first is that we have a system that we have stretched to the limits in many ways. We've been able to deliver really great projects, but that has required us to borrow, beg, and not steal, but borrow and beg to fund priority initiatives. What that's meant is that our capital maintenance, there's a certain amount of capital upkeep that this system requires every single year. And what we've dedicated ourselves to doing is coming back to the board with a sort of a roadmap for moving forward around capital maintenance. We are falling behind on the state of good repair of our facilities and our fleet. And it's not too late to course correct, and we're going to come back to this board with recommendations on how we get there to do just that. Ridership, we have recalibrated. We're still quite optimistic. We believe we can achieve a 4.5% year-over-year increase, which would bring us back to that 8.4 million goal from last year. In part, we think that World Cup creates a significant opportunity to bring new riders onto Trinity Metro. TexRail, we are committing to I wanted to put up here a break ground. That will still, of course, be a goal of ours next year. However, there are a couple of key requirements in order to do that. One is to complete and certify that funding plan. We believe we have a path forward. There's some grant agreements that need to be executed. There's some final bids that we need to receive in order to know whether the budget that we've established actually matches up with the funding plan. And then we need to deliver on 3 major agreements over the next few months to clear the way for groundbreaking. One of the conversations at the city and in the region, frankly, is how do we fund a great transit infrastructure? How do we build the rail lines that people want? How do we upgrade the transit services? And so we are on a multi-year effort here to grow interest, which we hope will lead to investment in Trinity Metro. And that starts, in my opinion, with a great economic development program. And so we're committing to hiring a new economic development director and launching our transit-oriented development study and urban rail initiative. And these are all tied together. The economic development goes hand in glove with ideas like urban rail. And so there's quite a bit of work that will have to happen over the coming year and a half to make all of that a reality. When we look to Grapevine, we see the results of great transit-oriented development. So yes, it's about generating economic development, but that economic development also creates ridership. And it's a self-sustaining program. And then we're going to continue to focus on transit worker assault and prevention. I think we all know this, that USDOT Secretary Duffy has been talking quite a bit about if we're going to do anything at transit systems, we have to first be safe. And so we'll continue to invest in de-escalation training for our workforce and completing the installation of heavy-duty bus operator barrier doors on the fleet. So goal last year was to create some of those designs for bus operator barrier doors. This coming year is about installation and completion of the program. And with that, I'll conclude by saying it's been a busy year. The results that you saw on the screen were the results of the team working together here and thank you for all of the leadership this board has given us. We need to continue to be resourceful and continue to show our city and our county that great transit is not only possible, but sorely needed as our fast-growing region grows further. So, Mr. Chairman, back to you.
It's quite comprehensive, Rich. Thank you. We have a roadmap for the future and a report card. So I think we did pretty well, Rich. Thank you and your staff. I want to mention, too, the important golf tournament that we had, the bus stop cleanup. Those things are really important in themselves to the kinds of things that we do that kind of go under the radar screen often. And anybody else have any comments they want to talk about? You know, I know one of the things I talked about earlier was we need to be relentless, and it's easy to sit back and rest on our laurels. We can't. We have a lot to do. I mean, we're still a national agency, and I think we just need to focus on the 26 goals and just get them done. So appreciate your staff and what you've done, Rich. So thank you for that, and we'll move on to the next item. Anybody have any comments?
I do have a
Teresa?
comment. I just want to say that as serving on the Board of Trustees for the college, we've also seen growth in our enrollment, and we've seen a growth in our completions. And I know that a part of that is the partnership that we have with Trinity Metro, because we're able to get our students to and from where they need to go. So I just want to thank you and congratulate you and your team for a successful year. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Brad, will you come up and talk about operations? Great report, Rich. Really good.
Good afternoon, board members. I'm Brad Beeson, Manager of Rail Operations here at Trinity Metro. I'm here today to report on the on-time performance, or TRE, in TexRail. If you'll turn to page 43. TexRail had approximately 76,000 riders last month. It's about an 8% jump from October of last year. We are expecting very high ridership over the next few months with, we have two big events here in Fort Worth with the tree lighting and the parade, along with the two events in Grapevine for their tree lighting and parade. Something else that we've already noticed, as Rich already alluded to, is with the addition of Silverline, we've already started seeing a jump in our ridership from those numbers. It's right now it's probably around 100 to 150 a day, but we've noticed that jump already. If you go to the next page there, oh, I got it. Left or right? Oh, I went back. Oh, you got it. Okay. TRE had 149,500 rides last month. That's about a 4% increase from October of last year. The driving factors we think in this increase is the back end of the fair finishing up, along with the Dallas Mavericks and the Dallas Stars opening back up. We've seen a lot of riders on those game trains already. I know one of the Stars trains had like 750 riders coming back at one time, so we're testing crush load on those trains. Both railroads continue to operate well above the 98% on-time performance. We've even had a few interruptions for mechanical and operations issues, but we've worked around those to still stay above our 98% on-time performance. We're approaching 2,900 days injury-free on the project, and that's almost 8 years. That's a very big task that we've tried to accomplish there. And then that's all I have for that, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
It's all good, Brad.
All right.
Thank you for the report.
Thank y'all.
Okay, we have some action items. Before we go to the action items, does the board have any consent action items that they would like to remove from the consent agenda? Okay, well, okay, so we'll defer BA 2026-15. The next item is 2026 Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan. Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. I'm Jeff Brown, Chief Safety Officer, and I'm here today to present to you the annual update for the Trinity Metro Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan. This plan begins on page 48 of your board packet. The Federal Transit Administration requires public transportation systems that receive federal funding to develop an agency public transportation agency safety plan, otherwise known as the PTASP. And the requirements of this PTASP include, but are not limited to, information on our safety management systems, risk reduction programs, and safety performance targets. Agencies are required to complete an annual review of this plan to identify any deficiencies or opportunities for improvement. The key updates for the 2026 plan include the executive summary, safety performance measures, safety management systems, risk reduction programs, and the near-miss reporting policy. An additional part of this annual review is the requirement for the PTASP to be approved by the Board of Directors, the Joint Labor Management Safety Committee, and the accountable executive. If there are any questions on the PTASP, I'll be glad to answer them at this time.
Any questions, the board? Continue, Jeff.
Very good. Thank you. We recommend that the Board of Directors approve the 2026 Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan as presented today.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of passing BA 2026-16, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Next two items read.
Good afternoon, Board of Directors. I'm Reed Lanham, Chief Operating Officer here at Trinity Metro. And if you would please turn to page 101 in your packets. I'm presenting Board Action Item 2026-20 in regards to a FIFA transportation support and coach bus service contract. So as you heard Rich mention, we are gearing up for the World Cup next summer. It's expected to be a very large event, to put it mildly. We, in support of that, and to ensure that we're providing the best customer service possible, and to let you know how much we understand how big of a deal this is for Trinity Metro. We have a lot riding on this, our perception and our reputation in the local communities, that this is going to be a big deal for us. To ensure that we're providing the best customer service possible, we're looking to contract with AJL International to provide some supplemental coach bus services. Now, you'll see the pricing on this is for up to 40 coach buses during a 42-day period. We really expect to be able to utilize around 17 to 30, but we're asking for up to 40 based on the closer we get to this event, what we're seeing in demand for transit services. We want to be able to stay flexible and respond to the needs of the spectators. Again, like I said, this is a 40 buses over a 42-day period. The projected cost is $5,544,000. That's a maximum cost. Right now, we do not foresee having to use them during the days in between the matches, only on match days. But again, having the ability to change and adapt as the needs change is crucial for us. So I'll be willing to answer any questions you guys may have on that before I give the recommendation.
And I'm only asking these questions because I know you love buses, but what are, if we bus everyone to the stadium, how many buses out of it? It's like, Rich, what did you say? It was like over 1,600 buses or something? It's crazy.
It's a large number.
It's a large number.
It's-
Are we asking for enough buses? And how many of our actual fleet buses were we planning on using during this 42-day period? We're supplementing with these extra buses.
Right. So right now, the main plan all centers around TRE, right? We're going to, that's our primary mode of transportation, is to get the crowds onto the TRE to Centerport, where they'll offload onto coach buses that are provided by the Dallas Sports Commission and FIFA, and they will take them down to Lot H at the stadium. These, our normal transit buses are going to be used to provide our normal daily service. These will help supplement the TRE service when we see a large demand and we've exceeded the crush loads. We will divert people to these buses and get them to the stadium. That's the plan for right now. These will also be available in the event that we have a disruption on the TRE. I'm sure you guys are well aware of the more seasoned nature of our TRE equipment. And there's always the possibility of a mechanical failure, a grade crossing incident, things that we have to prepare for. And these buses will help us respond to that and mitigate delays and disruptions and anger from the fans. So,
Excellent. And so I heard FIFA's paying for the bus bridge from Center Point down, so that's great.
That's correct. We right now have no operational control. We're taking the people to Centerport. They'll board the FIFA Dallas Sports Commission buses to Lot H. We will help support that effort, no doubt.
So this is a contingency plan.
That's correct. It's going to allow us to ease the congestion on TRE as well as be able to respond to any catastrophes that may arise.
And then one last question. Is this a pay-as-we-go thing, or is this a lump sum contract, and we just have access to these buses?
So it is kind of a pay-as-you-go type thing. It's on a usage basis, right? So we're asking for this amount because that's the maximum we feel that we would use at any one time. So again, we don't expect it to come in at the price we're asking for, but I can't stress the flexibility factor enough. We need that as we prepare for an event this large.
So while the event is in Arlington and we're getting some support from the station, the Centerport station by COG, this is something we're doing on our own as a contingency just in case all else fails. So this is protecting our citizens and our ridership. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement, yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
Well, let me give the recommendation first. I'm sorry. Point of order. So the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorizes the President and Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract with a one-year contract with AJL International for FIFA-related coach bus services in the amount of $5,544,000 with a 10% contingency of $554,400 for a total not to exceed amount of $6,098,400.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve BA 2026-20. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Don't press your luck here. What else you got?
If you would allow me to present one more action item to you this afternoon. If you would please turn the page to 102. We have board action item 2026-19. This is for a CNG bus purchase. You also heard, Rich, one of our goals this year is to implement a state of good repair program. This directly ties to that and to the service we are able to offer to our customers. We're continually trying to give our customers the best customer service experience possible. We do have an aging fleet right now. I can tell you our maintenance folks, our cleaners are doing a fantastic job of keeping the buses as clean as possible and in good running state. Nevertheless, we're getting to the point where we need new buses in the fleet, right? And it's only going to help increase ridership and, again, our reputation and perception in the community. Having said that, I will go into the recommendation unless there's any more questions. This is for a purchase of 15 as well, so sorry, didn't mention that. The Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorizes the President and Chief Executive Officer to exercise a contract option with Gillig LLC for the purchase of 15 transit buses in the amount of $12,051,660 with a 10% contingency of $1,205,166 for a total not to exceed amount of $13,256,826.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second to approve. VA 2026-19. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
And I would like to point out, in our continual efforts to be more efficient, I really do appreciate the fact that over this past year, we have gone to introducing you whole amounts instead of cents as well. I appreciate not
So
having to read
Reed, while we
those
have
out.
you here, or maybe Rich wants to answer this, for those of you on the board that don't know, we always have a contingency on items like this. Can you talk about how that contingency might come into play so that we're not automatically making these contingency expenditures?
In the world we live in today, we do have the Buy America clause, right? But we're faced with tariffs. I can tell you we've been battling that on the rail side of the house as well as the bus side. There's constant changes with vendors, with the shipping of the goods as well. Shipping costs are very volatile right now. The 10% contingency helps us to be able to respond quickly to those and keep the delivery dates on time. And also any additional needs that may arise during the course of the project, right? Any changes that are needed during the project, this gives us the ability to move quickly without having to come back to you every month. Not that we don't like to, but.
So what's the process then that you go through when you have these matters come up?
We'll go through a change order process with the vendor, with all of our folks here, procurement, the project-related folks, and all that is documented very clearly. But we're able to move very quickly with these already board-approved contingencies.
Appreciate that, Rick.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Richie, come give us some good news.
Good afternoon, Board. I'm Richie Thompson. I'm the Chief Engineer for Trinity Metro. If you turn to page 103, we're going to talk about BA 2026-22, which is the Textro extension. It's the Construction Manager at Risk contract amendment for the early work packages. Again, I'm excited to be here today, finally. So today's item is basically the initial step for Trinity Metro to start the construction and completion of the Textro extension project, which is a 2.1-mile extension of the current Textro system from its current southern terminus at the TMP station to the Fort Worth Medical District. Trinity Metro entered into a Construction Manager at Risk CMAR contract with Fort Worth Transit Partners in June of 2023. Which is currently has an approved not to exceed contract amount of $2,171,306. Negotiations of the guaranteed net maximum price contract to construct TexRail is an element of this contract. We are phasing the GMP into two phases. The first phase covers long lead procurement items, and the second phase will cover the remaining items for the full development of the GMP. The CMAR has solicited early work packages for long lead procurement items, including special track work and the bridge installation and structural steel for the Union Pacific Railroad. And these items are included as part of this board action. The funding amounts for the early work packages requested with this authorization are within the limits of our TexRail Extension Program budget. The CMAR will be issuing the remaining solicitations for the second phase by the end of this month. So we are targeting to come and present the full GMP to this board in the upcoming March or April board meetings. I'll take any questions that you have right now.
Are we getting close, Richie?
Sir?
Are we getting close?
Hopefully. We're getting closer. We're getting closer.
I don't have questions, but I always like to acknowledge staff when I have an opportunity. And Richie oversaw the CMAR and some of their early procurement and outreach meetings. And I had the privilege of attending that and just trying to speak to my old life and just enjoy seeing how that went down. And I just want to tell Richie, man, I really appreciate the job you're doing in herding cats and the insanity. And it was exciting to be in a room full of people excited to come build for us. So
I appreciate it.
Keep up the great work, man.
All right. So we recommend that the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorize the President and Chief Executive Officer to execute a supplemental agreement with Fort Worth Transit Partners for long lead procurement items in the amount of $28,131,215.29 with a 10% contingency in the amount of $2,813,121.53 for a total of $30,944,336.82, with a revised not-to-exceed contract amount of $33,115,642.82.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries
I
unanimously.
thought our COO said we
Thank
were
you.
dropping
I thought we
cents.
got rid of cents.
One job, Reed, one job.
Board members, the next item in your packet, please refer to the insert sheet that you received. It's BA 2026-24.
All right, good afternoon, board members. I'm Tara Crawford, Vice President of Planning. I'm pleased to bring this next board action item, BA 2026-24, General Planning Consultant Contract. As you all know, we are looking for a new consultant for our second GPC. This consultant is going to assist staff in the following areas: environmental planning, capital project planning and development, transportation planning and analysis, economic development, organizational assessment, research, analysis, and planning, preliminary engineering services at planning level schematics, public-private partnerships, financial planning and funding strategies, information technology, public involvement and outreach, grants compliance, monitoring, and development. The initial projects are going to include phases of the urban rail plan and the development of our long-range vision for Trinity Metro tomorrow. That's our 25-year vision. Very excited for 2050. 4 teams were responded to the RFP and complied with the requirements. All the teams were shortlisted, made oral presentations, and were interviewed by the evaluation committee. As a result of the evaluations, AECOM was selected as the highest qualified firm for entering into negotiations and the contract award. At this point in time, are there any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to acknowledge that a lot of the AECOM team are active transit enthusiasts in our community.
Correct.
Not just, wanting to work for us, but they help us advocate in fashions that we need outside of these walls. So super excited to partner on this for the next journey, and some of my friends on other transit nonprofit groups here in the room. So
Yeah, they actually are here, and I want to say that Rachel Bradford, our new PM, she is right here. She actually comes to all of our board meetings, and this is before she was getting paid, so she's amazing. And then Christina Kilberg, she's going to be our deputy PM. Very excited. So with that, our recommendation is the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorizes the President and Chief Executive Officer to execute a 3-year contract with 2 1-year option periods with AECOM for general planning and other professional services in the not-to-exceed amount of $10 million.
So before we vote, I am going to recuse myself on this one.
Okay.
Move for approval. Move. Have a motion?
second.
A second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Tara.
Thank you.
We have a consent agenda. Are there any matters that the board would like to remove from the consent agenda and have a discussion or presentation or both? We don't want to talk about property insurance?
Always, but no.
Thank you. I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent action items BA 2026-7 through BA 2026-25. And there are a couple that were omitted in between there, but they're shown on the consent action item on the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. Okay, Greg.
Who knows what you just put in there?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Greg Jordan, Chief Financial Officer. You have a resolution before you to approve the text pool authorized representatives. We use a couple of pooled investment trust funds to manage our portfolio. It's a very efficient way for us to manage the portfolio. Whenever we make changes to staff or positions, then we have to amend the resolution to allow us to continue to take advantage of the pools. The only change here was the addition of Treasury Manager. So I'll go ahead and read this. The Trinity Metro Board of Directors approves continued participation in the Trinity Metro and Tex Pool and a Texas Local Government Investment Pool for the purpose of managing daily cash flow needs and investment of available cash assets. The amendment of the list of authorized individuals to act on behalf of Trinity Metro with Tex Pool, specifically authorizing the Chief Financial Officer, Treasury Manager, Director of Budget and Grants, and Controller to deposit and withdraw funds as needed, acknowledges that the internal controls have been reviewed and are in place to ensure that only the individuals listed above may take appropriate action with respect to the Tex Pool account, and authorizes the submission of the updated authorization document to Tex Pool and affirms that it has been reviewed for compliance with all applicable federal, state, and Trinity Metro requirements. With that, I'll answer any questions the board may have.
It's page 188 in your packet.
Any questions or comments? I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion
Second.
and a second for approval of BAR 2026-01. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. All right, Greg, we still have an investment policy to approve.
Thank you. By virtue of the Public Funds Investment Act in the state of Texas, we have to present the investment policy to the governing board on an annual basis. This represents that. There are no changes from the last investment policy.
Would you read the investment policy for us?
I'll read the recommendation. The Trinity Metro Board of Directors has reviewed the annual investment policy and investment strategies of the Fort Worth Transportation Authority and hereby adopts it. So there are no changes from the last time we deliberated this last year. This is merely an ongoing just measure of routine business for us.
Thank you, Greg.
Not to be a stickler, but should, since this is a resolution and we're approving it, we should probably fix the typo under no changes have been made. As much as I enjoy it being my name, I think we needed an extra E in there.
My sincere apologies. We will make that correction. Thank you.
I'll accept a motion with,
It's already been revised, okay.
Would you say it's been resolved?
Motion to approve.
we have a motion and a second to approve R 2026-02. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. How you doing, Rich?
All right. I'll abbreviate my remarks, given we just had an update on the state of the agency. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, board members, Trinity Metro staff, and members of the public. As you saw in my earlier presentation, Trinity Metro's efforts to enhance services and focus on the customer experience are yielding results. Getting around our city and county is increasingly getting easier thanks to TexRail, Orange Line, Blue Line, Trinity Metro bikes. And you can look at the eye-popping ridership gains and see that a little attention to service, reliability, frequency, and comfort are key ingredients. As our chairman likes to say, transit systems are built incrementally over long periods. There's no time to waste. Today's board agenda was one of the busiest in my tenure in the last 3 years. We had 18 action items and 2 resolutions today before this board to advance major initiatives like TexRail, Medical District Extension, Prepare for World Cup, retain consultant support for urban rail, and renew our bus fleet. All of these investments create jobs, spur economic development, and support the great quality of life that we enjoy. If you want to focus on the bottom line, and that's certainly okay if quality of life isn't your #1 focus, Trinity Metro adds 2 Super Bowls of impact every year, or $700 million to our local economy. I, along with members of our leadership team, have been meeting with university and hospital presidents, business leaders, and elected officials over the last few months. Our outreach has been part of a coordinated effort to hear what keeps our leaders up at night and how Trinity Metro might help. These leaders, and there's been many of them, have spoken with a clear voice. They are facing a variety of workforce challenges. Their ability to recruit from more distant areas of the Metroplex are hamstrung by long travel times. I heard a personal story by one leader downtown that they used to draw on people clear across the region to come to fill a job here, and they just can't do it anymore. People are just not interested in applying if they're coming from those distances. Some employers are running remote shuttles to bring employees to their locations. Others are facing challenges in retaining students as the cost of transportation rises. Let's remember that owning and operating an auto last year was $12,202, roughly 12,000. Let's call it 12,000.
No sense.
Now, let's keep in mind what that means, right? 12,000 may not seem like a lot of money, but if you're a student at Tarrant County College, that's half of your annual cost of attendance. So these are really big numbers, and there's nothing really stopping us from moving forward faster other than additional funding to make a real dent in the program backlog. Until then, we will continue to be innovative and resourceful to deliver as much quality transit service that our cities need and deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. On the board members' report, I didn't want to be presumptuous and convene. If anybody would like to talk about a specific topic, that'd be terrific. I will entertain specific ideas and thoughts over the next couple of months to see if you really have an interest in doing this. What I wanted to do with this particular report is defer to Greg Jordan so we could talk at length about something that's very important. We hear about these existential threats all the time, and this existential threat is coming down the pike with the dark pullout election in many cities. So I'd like for Greg to make a report and comment and have a robust discussion about your feelings about what's going on. I think that's very topical, and it's something that we really need to weigh in on if that's something the board wants to do. So, Greg, if you take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm going to do my best to paint you a picture of sort of the recent events, and I've got kind of a unique perspective on this, and so I want to share with you, not only from the transit side, but also the municipal side. We've been on sort of a collision course for some time that was set in motion by some legislative actions over the last few years that have somewhat eroded local control. And the conversation that I want to have with you today it's got dual perspectives, but it's one of which we can have opposing opinions, and both can be simultaneously correct at the same time. And that's kind of where we are with this. So over the last few weeks, we're really talking about four cities here. We're talking about Farmers Branch, Highland Park, Plano, and Irving. And they have passed measures to potentially withdraw from DART in the spring. So today, I want to spend a little time with you. I'm going to paint the issue for you. I'm going to give you a summary of some of those recent events. This is a financial discussion at its very core. And so then I want to talk a little bit about some of the consequences, some philosophical questions, and then the timeline of events. As always, when I get up here, I want to invite you to interrupt me as I go and ask questions as we go. Some of these things I'm somewhat enthusiastic on, so I'll probably dive in a little bit more than maybe some of you would like. But there's merit to the entire conversation, I think. So state law sets the maximum that cities can collect in sales tax at 2%. So the blended tax rate, for example, in Fort Worth is 8.25. The state gets 6.25 of that, and the city or the local jurisdiction can have up to 2%. Now, not in all cases will they consume the full 2%, but in most cases, your larger cities do. And those dollars generally get split up with the first 1% going to feed the general fund. It pays for things like parks and libraries, police, fire, your city manager's office, et cetera. And then the remainder 1% gets split up any way that the voters choose, right? And it does take a voter's election for that. So DART member cities collect, or rather they pay 1 full penny into the DART program for service. These cities that we've talked about, these four cities, they have a desire to use these funds for other purposes. Anytime we have tax dollars, they're always going to compete against one another to provide the community the service. So this conflict, it was somewhat unavoidable, right? So the days from November 4th through November 6th, all 4 of these cities called for a special election. They cited very similar things in their resolutions, but really it hung around fiscal equality, state-mandated revenue caps, and then the 1% sales tax dedication. Now, at the same time, all 4 of these cities are also talking about having some form of microtransit provided either by Uber, Lyft, or possibly Via to continue some sort of transit within those cities. The interesting thing about that is they're really saying in one hand, hey, we got to have our money for municipal services. At the other hand, they're really acknowledging the importance of public transportation. So somewhat interesting.
And they want rail too.
Yes, sir, and rail. I'm not going to read all this to you, but there are a few things in here that I found to be pretty important, right? The first, and this is an excerpt from the Plano resolution. So the first whereas, there's a highlight there that says, we've dedicated 1% of local sales tax to support the regional transit system. The second whereas calls up the legislative session of 2019 when Senate Bill 2 was passed. That set a statutory limitation on the annual increase in property tax revenue for most local taxing units to 3.5% over the preceding year. And finally, Plano wraps up by saying, these cities are at a distinct fiscal disadvantage as their capacity to generate and allocate discretionary revenues for essential municipal services, including public safety, emergency response, and capital infrastructure improvements, is allocated to mass transit. So all of that's correct. All of that's true. I'm first going to spend a little time talking to you about property tax. And before I get into the words on the screen, I need to explain to you a little bit about the way property taxes are calculated. So every year when municipalities go through their annual budget process, they fill out tax worksheets. And the first thing that they fill out with their tax worksheet is the debt service portion of the tax rate. So your property tax goes into it goes into 2 buckets. It goes into an INS bucket and it goes into an M&O bucket. So what are these? Your INS is your interest in sinking fund. That pays for your debt service. Your M&O portion goes into the general fund to pay for these general fund activities that we mentioned before, parks, libraries, et cetera. So when the exercise begins, you first calculate your debt service portion. Now, some years back, the legislature said, well, we're not going to allow cities anymore to issue certificates of obligation for public purpose projects, right? COs have always been a favorite instrument to issue debt. They're very quick in nature. They don't require voter approval. And so you can do this on an annual basis, or rather you could do this on an annual basis to maintain your tax rate so you have future capacity to continue to reinvest in your infrastructure, okay? By taking away the ability to issue COs for public purpose infrastructure projects, it could be a community center, a rec center, or maybe a city hall. These things now have to go to the voters for a GO election, okay? And so on an annual basis, if you're not increasing that debt obligation, what happens is the property tax by default will continue to decrease on the INS portion. So in 2019, the state legislature passed Senate Bill 2, and Senate Bill 2 put a 3.5% cap for cities with populations over 30,000 on the income that comes into the general fund from property tax. That's the M&O portion of the property tax. So you can only grow that by 3.5%. Now, historically, the rollback, we called it the rollback rate. It was 8%. So cities could capture up to 8% value appreciation. In 2019, that dropped to 3.5%. So in the 1980s, when there was very high inflation, the legislature said, well, we got to allow cities to keep up with the cost of doing business. So this, the rollback rate is what we used to call it, was set at 8%. after many years of near zero inflation in 2019, legislature said, well, 8% is too high because we're living in an environment where we're, sub 2%. We need to reduce that to 3.5%. Then all of a sudden we had COVID. Inflation shot up over 9%. Now inflation is hovering around 3 to 3.1. So this revenue cap that they have set on the property tax it's hamstringing cities' abilities to be able to provide all the municipal services that they've typically been able to do in the past. Your largest cost in city government is going to be your personnel. And typically, if you have labor agreements with public safety, you're going to see those costs exceed by, 3, 4, 5, 6%. I've seen it increase up to 8% annually. And so what's that really mean? Well, when your largest revenue stream, property tax, is capped off at 3.5%, you have to be able to outpace that with sales tax and other revenues, right? Sales tax is typically your second largest source. And so, some years sales tax is going to be very robust. Other years it may be very flat. In the years where all of your other revenues are flat and you have a 3.5% cap on your property tax, then you find yourself in a reduction or cutting position. So that's what's going on within the context of Senate Bill 2 that these cities have cited. That was a mouthful, I know. I'll pause, yes.
Let's just take the property tax that we're talking about, and we talk about the inflation based upon what you have to pay a police officer or a fireman. And let's just take Fort Worth. Is it a fair statement that 90% of the property tax amount would equal the amount it costs for police and fire?
It's probably not an unfair statement. Yes, sir. I think that's...
Your property tax then essentially goes close to paying just for your public safety.
Probably so. I would have to look at that, but in general ratios, the way that Fort Worth is built and the way that I think over a third of their total general fund goes in to pay for public safety. And then you've got, now Fort Worth is somewhat unique because you have a crime district tax to help support that too. So, and then I think probably, if I'm not mistaken, it was around 45 or so percent is coming in from property tax. So yes, I think that's a very fair statement. Yes, sir. Are there any other questions relative to? Okay. So the sales tax portion, as I mentioned, cities are restricted to 2%. 1% goes into the general fund. These cities are paying 1%, the remaining 1% to DART. The value of their 1 cent to DART and to these cities exceeds $260 million. So it is a substantial amount of money. Yeah, I'll just leave it up there for the sake of, wow. It is a lot of money. And so these cities are looking at these dollars and they're thinking, okay, well, if I had that 1 penny back, what could I do with it, right? You could have an economic 4B fund, you could have a crime district fund, you could have a park dedication fund, street improvement fund. I mean, you can do many things with this, and your options are pretty robust. But there's significant consequences to this too, right? If cities decide that they want to go it on their own, we will find that the concept of regionalism will be out the door. Transit will probably start and stop at borders. We will see increased number of cars on the road, which is increased congestion. It's going to be increased pollution. Now, they are talking about replacing some of this with a microtransit product, but as somebody that's balanced a lot of budgets in the past, when you go into budget years that are tight, you start looking for low-hanging fruit. Microtransit's expensive. That's going to be the low-hanging fruit. And over a short period of years, I would anticipate that those microtransit programs that they would replace to keep the ball moving forward, if you will, I would expect those to all go away in the pretty near future, just out of necessity for balancing budgets.
Can you give us an example of costs, say with our system, microtransit passenger versus bus?
Well, we pay, I think our cost right now is about $15 million for microtransit. I haven't looked at what those communities would need to have for theirs, but it is an expensive system to run. And so, when you're faced with the challenge of, well, do we cut the parks or the libraries, or do we cut, something else? And I don't really know how to forecast what they would do in that situation. From our side, we're very concerned about the impact that it would have on TRE. We view the yes, sir.
Can we run the TRE just to Centerpoint and back, or would the whole service get discontinued?
Yeah, we will have to understand what they are considering. The yard is in Irving, and the facilities, there's a joint ownership agreement, and so we would have to unentangle ourselves. So it's unclear, Isaac. The other thing to keep in mind is a lot of the ridership originates in Tarrant but ends in Dallas. So we're not sure whether the line has a lot of value if it just operated within Tarrant. We would explore that, of course, but it's really, one other comment on this. TxDOT has been talking about getting into the multimodal business, and that was big news over the last 10 days. So the folks in Austin, the TxDOT folks, I think recognize that there's a role for regional rail that is very complementary to the highway investment. There's a lot of moving parts at the moment.
It's definitely not an uncomplicated equation. There's a lot going on. So some of the other consequences, there's real risk to their economic development, right? You don't have TOD without the T, right?
That should be a T-shirt.
Thank you.
I almost hope this happens so we'll be way more economically competitive than them, like overnight. So, I'm Fort Worth through and through, and I would honestly kind of love to see that. And with what the Stars and the Mavs are thinking about doing and moving their arena, we're not going to have a reason to go over there anyway. So, honestly, I hope this happens. If they want to make decisions like this that will affect future generations, I just feel sorry for their people over there. I'm glad we're over here.
I'm glad we're over here too. There's also no guarantee that the voters, if they were to choose to pull out of DART, that they would then choose to also assess themselves a new tax for a crime district fund or something else. It's entirely possible that they would say, well, no, we just want to have a lower tax rate in our city. The future is very difficult to project on that. So at the end, fixed route systems and rail systems are absolutely essential to having, the services that people need. Yes, sir.
Isn't there an air quality issue with this too? If they don't have a transit authority in a city over a certain size, there's federal dollars that will come into play that the whole region won't get because of air quality stuff. Isn't that Michael's biggest concern?
We're already in a non-attainment zone,
Right.
all of North Texas, so we're at 77, 78% non-attainment. We're already losing. If you want to talk to Isaac Sr., we've already lost a lot of economic development because certain manufacturers cannot come to the region.
Yeah,
And I just today, NBC was quoting the economic development report from the University of North Texas, talking about the last 25 years in TODs in Dallas. And it is over $18 billion of increased value, return on investment, that has occurred, and some really serious, huge Mistletoe Station, not Mistletoe, but the one in Dallas that's so busy. Mockingbird Station, yeah. So there are those kinds of things, and the economic return isn't being calculated in this discussion. And you may recall that Plano, when they initiated this before the legislature last year, you only used 2023 numbers, did not include the Silver Line. And if you use the same Ernst & Young criteria. If you extend that logic, there's $600 to $800 million worth of present economic value to just Plano alone and 2,000 jobs. So there is a large discussion around data, and I want to encourage everybody not to trust me or anybody, but look at the data. What does it show? And if we lose TRE, that's just a ripple from what all of North Texas will lose in terms of air quality, mobility, economic development. It's just it is that existential threat that we're looking at, and we haven't even talked about Plano and what they have to pay back. They're responsible for a certain portion of the debt that's currently on the DART books. And that, I'm making it up, I'm going to say is $1 billion for no service. So the day they vote if they vote against it, they'd have to come up with $1 billion over 7.5 years. So you can just see the consequences just become a huge ripple effect. It's not just an existential threat. And the last thing is to suggest is if you look at all initiatives that have occurred throughout the United States, you will find most of them pass by, I'm going to say 65 to 70%, because public transit is very popular. And the polling that's already been done in Plano and Farmers Branch, it's popular there too. So this is some kind of a game that the leaders are playing to get money and to reallocate resources and not do what's in the best interest of their communities, but to try and offset what the state of Texas legislature is doing. And if they have to do without transit, and that's not what they want, but they're playing a very risky game is what I'm suggesting to you.
And it seems like there's pretty low-hanging fruit with McKinney and Frisco right there. If you need other member cities, go get it.
Right.
That $1 billion number is correct. They've got about $1 billion worth of liability that they'll have to pay off. So it's a substantial chunk, absolutely. So a couple questions for us, right, and just things to think about, right? You know, some of these cities have been critical because, well, we're not getting a dollar for dollar return. Well, I mean, is that really necessary, or is it fair to say, hey, look, you're going to get to pay a premium for this. However, you're going to have the benefit of economic development and, you know, cleaner air and less congestion and all these other benefits. The other question to be asked is what really are the most efficient modes to have a truly efficient service so you have interconnectivity and regionalism? DART manages a 20-year service plan. Is that right? Is 20 years the right number? Generally, from a finance perspective, 20 years is kind of a nice number because it's a multi-generational tax, if you will. And so you spread it out across the generations that are going to be using a system. But still a question to be asked. And then, you know, finally, what's the appropriate level of support from Trinity Metro? What, if anything, do we choose to do to provide support or otherwise? So,
Joel, what can we do? Resolution?
Beyond the resolution side, I think it's important, and one of the things that our entire ELT has been doing an amazing job with is continuing to get stories out about the benefits, because the stories of our benefits leak across the Metroplex. And whether we see ourselves as separated or not, the fact is in 2025, it's one region, and as we continue to grow, we're all going to just merge together. And if we have to take point on the conversation because our counterparts at DART are struggling in a different fight, then let's take point on the conversation. I mean, we've got, you know, a small local paper that has a mighty read sitting back there by the column. Let's get Eric and Fort Worth Report to talk about all the things that make transit-oriented developments and the fact that you can't have a TOD without the T. We will get that T-shirt made. You know, resolutions, things that we can do from here are huge, but the ears that need to hear our message aren't the ones that are going to read that. And so while I 100% want to send our support to Nadine and that team, I want the other end of the Metroplex and the people that don't understand the cost-benefit analysis and the true ROI of the future of transportation for our region. I want them to hear the message and hear it loudly from us, see the great things that we're doing, and let us help lead the next generation of charge. Because DART started with its light rail when it was slightly smaller than where Fort Worth is today. So it's our turn to take the ball. So let's take the ball and lead the conversation and help make this happen.
Thank you, Ben. Any other comments about?
I mean, we need to come up with a real plan if they mess this up. So what are we going to do when they don't do the right thing here? And I think we really need to think about our TRE right-of-way.
Right.
And how do we, as an organization, control that even if we're not operating a rail on it at that time? There will be a need eventually for that right-of-way, and it's just a super valuable corridor, so we need to make sure that that remains under our control.
You have 2 of the top 10 population cities in the United States within 25 miles, connected currently with a really good system. It's an old system, but it's a good system with some frequency, not the best equipment. Not having that service, I think, is the wrong statement for our region.
TRE double track with 36-minute headways will change the region, and I think that move will get the light bulb will come on for the region, because you can't beat that.
Well, it's funny, the Plano rep, the former chair of DART, suggested that we don't need that service. He's from Plano. So there's a whole thought process going on to try and hurt, for lack of a better word, the DART system, and not thoughtfully and with data go about trying to resolve those issues. So I think they don't have, the election's in March. If they choose to have the election, there's no time to develop the right kind of campaign. The studies that would be needed to show the economic development from the Silver Line, being that $600 to $800 million present value, and the jobs, they're doing it politically, I think, to gain foothold. And I do think that they won't succeed, but coming up with strong stories about the value of transit, this is an opportunity for us to educate the whole region and be part of the leadership of the region. And that's something that I would like this board to consider.
Let's do it.
I think it's important that we reach out to partners. We have a really strong partnership, and I talked again about the college because that's what I'm familiar with, and we have a strong partnership with Dallas. So we have students that are traveling back and forth, taking classes, and if they complete, then they become part of, they contribute to the economic development, right? So they become taxpayers. So it's important. And so that's just one example. And there's got to be hundreds out there that we could tap into to tell their story.
Roughly 90 of the 100 people who spoke at the Plano City Council were against this motion. So, I mean, there is deep and wide support for public transit, even in Plano and Farmers Branch. It's just odd that they would be pursuing this in this manner.
If we were to put a resolution together, what time frame we're looking to do that? Because you talked about the election maybe being in March.
I think we need to do it in the next couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, but make sure everybody understands why and what we're doing. I want everybody to look at the data of transit, specifically related to our region, and it shows the benefits. And you'll notice that Michael Morris is now talking about density and the importance of public transit, and the Texas Department of Transportation, who never could spell transit, it just sent out a wonderful report saying we really need to consider transit because our cities are, y'all driven around here lately? I've been up to the airport 5 or 6 times. It's just awful. And people are going around making like 90 miles an hour.
We got a text rail that takes you straight to the airport.
Yeah, Chairman.
I always use text rail except when I'm picking somebody up.
There you go.
I love text rail. Anyway, is that be something the board would consider, an appropriate resolution, circulate it?
Do you need a motion for that?
I do.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think Fort Worth with over 1 million people, although our residents won't be voting, but because it's about the region, I'm with my brother down Ben that we need to take ownership and leadership in this and say we need to support this because it's going to affect us in some way. And so, if you need a motion, I motion to approve us putting together a resolution.
Thank you. A second? A motion, a second. Any discussion? John, any, Will, want to talk?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is there a concern that DART's not going to fulfill any obligation they have to Trinity?
That's a great question. I think the obligation primarily centers around TRE.
Herzog contract.
Pardon?
Our contract with Herzog that also affects TexRail, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we have a separate, no, Herzog is operating both lines, but under different contracts. But the bigger question for this board and for Trinity Metro will be, how do we evolve TRE if DART's position changes, right?
Or even Silver Line related to
Right.
connecting to the airport.
And so I think it'll be our job as staff to stay close to the developments. And if this looks like it's gaining momentum in terms of, voter approval of withdrawal, I think there will be a number of conversations we're going to want to have. And we would come to you with scenarios for your, thoughts and feedback. Okay?
Do we need to keep all of them? Like, if we lost Highland Park, would we be okay? It's really Plano
It's
and
Plano and
Irving.
Farmers Branch, I would say. Irving's big.
Irving's big. Irving and
We're
Plano.
selling regionalism. They're all important.
Well,
Everybody counts.
it's not just the TRE.
Honestly, I get
It's
Highland
not,
Park's great.
it's not just TRE, but that's the major impact it would have on us immediately. Because if they have the election and it passes, service stops immediately. I can't tell you what that means to our ridership, but to the region, I can tell you what it means. It's an awful statement for us to make in terms of air quality, for moving people, for mobility. It's just going to be awful for congestion. And we're making such progress. And having TxDOT at this point come out and say we must have public transportation, more public, we must have some anyway.
Can we ask TxDOT?
It's a great statement.
Can we ask TxDOT to pick up DART's side of the TRE bill, and we'll just manage it and run it ourselves?
We could do that, yeah.
No, we'll just ask them for money and build more trains every
I don't know that it's mismanaged. I mean, they've got a great 20-year plan.
I'm just saying, if DART loses their funding, could we ask TxDOT to step up? They're acknowledging it's important. We have a system in place. They don't need to build it.
We have a lot of options out there.
The state should operate anytime.
Question, so if Irving pulls out and we still have track that goes to downtown Dallas, that just means we won't stop in Irving anymore. We'll just continue on to Dallas.
That's correct.
Sweet.
The maintenance line yards there, right?
Yeah. And also if there's a medical district there.
Yeah. We have examples of, TexRail operates through Colleyville, but doesn't stop in Colleyville. So it would be similar to that. I guess the bigger question is what market would remain and what kind of service would we want to offer absent DART's participation, right? I mean, that's a conversation. We, I know as a board and this organization have the spirit of trying to step in and make things right, but we don't also have those kinds of resources, so.
I think that's the question, what I was kind of thinking about. Should these cities pull out, then there's the subsequent reduction to DART's contribution to TRE. Well, then what's our subsequent reduction in services? And what's the cost of that? Because if it's yes, we want to provide every service that we can to the residents. We want to maintain a regional relationship. But if it's a net zero, if it's being a neutral, what's the word I'm looking for there? A neutral impact, then I say DART has to figure that out for themselves, and not DART, but the region. We can't carry the region. We're just not. We want to. We'd love to, but we're not resourced for that.
Correct.
We are resourced to tell the story.
We are resourced to tell a story. We have great stories to tell.
So this vote would be to support drafting a resolution to offer support to DART?
To offer support for transit in the region, and why?
So it's not a financial commitment, it's strictly a Word doc?
We have no ability to do that.
Okay.
This is just basically talking about
We spent enough money today.
how important transit is for the region and the future of the region. It's odd that TxDOT's figured it out, Michael Morris, the COG has figured it out. Everybody's starting to figure out, and as soon as they do, a couple of people think that they want to grab some money and think it's low-hanging fruit that just got 2 stations on the Silver Line, and that's just the most odd thing I've ever heard of since I've been an adult. Maybe it's not so odd. Maybe it was intentional.
Yeah, I think the resolution serves as a statement of this body that Trinity Metro believes that transit is important to our region. And if Plano Irvin steps out, it's going to affect transit in the region. So the resolution is just a public statement that we as a body jointly commit to, and we send it out, and those who, such as Forward Report, pick it up, and news channels, Plano residents and those who are going to go to the polls and vote, they're going to see a statement from Trinity Metro that says, hey guys, you might want not to support this. I know you want your taxes lower, but it's going to affect you in the long run. So it just serves as a public statement. You think? Okay.
John, you good?
Yeah, I'm just concerned that we're just trying to influence other municipalities on what they want to do for their communities. Are we going to put like information in this resolution saying Trinity Metro believes that this might be the impact?
I think we'd be more positive than that. I mean, we'll have a chance to massage it. We can't vote on a resolution, but to bring one before the board, I think we can massage it to talk in very positive terms about the benefits of transit in North Texas and very carefully crafted the consequences that could occur, very carefully without pointing fingers. And I'm talking about the region. I'm not talking about Plano or Farmers Branch. It's such an important issue for us because we are part of the region. And
So being that we wouldn't reconvene until January, we wouldn't actually vote on this resolution till then?
I would hope we might be able to get one done, maybe
We can probably vote via
just
email.
by resolution, email. I think we could probably do that if we could come to some conclusion about the wording, which I think we could.
Yeah, I think this feedback's great. I think what we can do is lean into the role of rail in Tarrant County and what rail has done, right? In Tex Rail, we can highlight the role of TRE, and we can underscore the importance of continued regional collaboration. And we could talk about timing too, because, well, I'm sure our team has thoughts on, we can give you our thoughts at least on when this would have the greatest impact. Things do tend to get lost between Thanksgiving and Christmas in the public realm. But we'll come back to you with some ideas, if that's acceptable.
Will, good? John? Okay, we have a motion. Was that motion seconded?
Yes. And seconded.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Greg, thank you for the report. It's really important to address this in some fashion. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
We have BA 2026-26, Executive Incentive Program, so that we go into an executive session under the Texas Open Meetings Act for the consultation with its attorney pursuant to section, let's pick the section out. I'm looking for personnel, deliberation regarding personnel matters pursuant to section 551.074. And/or deliberations regarding economic development negotiations pursuant to section 551.087.
Jeff, before we do that, I had a question. Last month, before we go into the executive session, last month, we were addressing the issues with the government shutdown on the federal level. And I wanted to see, now that it's reopened, what impact there was.
Great question. Sure.
Well, I can tell you that we have been continuously engaging with the Federal Transit Administration, and they worked and were unimpacted. And we also, and Greg, if you would, we, during the shutdown, actually continued to receive funding. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. We received north of $7 million, if I'm not mistaken, during that time period. There were some provisions that kept FTA running, so their doors weren't closed. They were still available to us. They were still engaging with us and helping us achieve our goals. Yes.
There's nothing we need to delay or push back because of that, because everything just got caught back up?
There were a number of permitting/environmental reviews, for example, that may potentially be waiting in someone's inbox of the Department of Labor or the EPA. But nothing in terms of flow of funding was delayed, and nothing that was immediate in nature was delayed. So there might be some steps in administrative processes that will be delayed by a number of weeks as the federal government, federal employees come back to work and get to that queue. Yeah, but nothing of consequence. I'm looking at my team here, right? Nothing of consequence.
No, that's correct. Nothing.
Thank you.
Great question. Okay, we are adjourned into an executive session.
5 o'clock.
Let the record reflect that at 4:59, we're reconvening the board meeting, having ended the executive session. There's one action item before us now. It's BA 2026-26. I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve BA 2026-26. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you all, and we are adjourned.
Are we meeting in December?
I don't think so.
Merry Christmas, everyone.